What's up, baby dolls? I've got a cracker UFO episode here for you today. We're going to go through a pilot from South America, Rafael Perez. What ended up happening to Rafael is he literally falls asleep in his plane. He's literally a rookie pilot. He goes through the air, goes into a dark mist, and then Mr. Alien Dudes actually use him as a speaking microphone to communicate to the control center. And we do have the recording. When I saw this, I started getting tingles, friends, because there's so much cross-corroboration. There's a recording, multiple eyewitnesses. He comes out like it's absolutely cracker. And also made me think about something. When we got through it, friends, you'll see by the end of it, you go, oh, this is what would happen if aliens actually came down. Firstly, they'd be like, let's party with Mr. Alien Dude. But then, after about 10 years, people would be like, that probably never happened. Total psyops. Yeah, it would be like that. Check it out, friends.
What you are hearing is not the voice of a pilot in distress. This is something else entirely. In 1976, a young Mexican pilot named Rafael Perez was mid-flight when everything changed. His airplane was no longer under his control, and he lost consciousness. And then, he began to speak. But the words were not his own. This transmission, captured in real time, may be the only known audio of an extraterrestrial intelligence speaking through a human host.
That's true. You see that, friend? So there is, see, back then, obviously, everyone, we got nothing to compare it to. But now, through the power of the internet and our pointy elbows together, you and me, we've seen that this is occasion number 428 of like a daily occurrence of stuff happening, which just confirms that we don't own, I guess, Earth. We're not the zookeeper. We're the monkeys in the zoo. Very obvious with that. So we're going to go through and we're going to see this. So pretty much he gets channeled, okay? And what's interesting, friends, is Mr. Area 52, the gentle sir here, he interviewed Joe McMoneagle. Remember? CIA, Coconut Intelligence Agency, remote viewer number 1. Pretty much a good hit rate of doing remote viewing where, you know, you can see stuff literally remotely in your head. It's not imagining. You're tapping into some sort of field. We don't know exactly how it works. There's a lot of quirks and stuff about it. But Joe McMoneagle, it's funny, these stories of these pilots, very similar. So they always start with pilot goes up, goes through some mist, and they black out. And pretty much outside of the control, obviously the flying object, just call them Mr. Alien. We know what they are. Oh, an unknown object comes out. We know what it is, dude. It's Mr. Alien Dude comes out. Maybe we're going to crash into one. I don't know. They're like, hey, let's steer him off. Let's talk to him for a bit. Let's throw it around. Check it out, friends. I'll put the subtitles here. This is Joe McMoneagle just sharing a similar story about his friend.
Weird stuff. And we're going to start with my friend, Joe McMoneagle. Joe McMoneagle was known as remote viewer number 001. Arguably the best remote viewer that the CIA and the Army and the government has ever produced. Joe went on to remote view Mars a million years ago for the DoD. He did so many secret projects using his psychic ability for the military that it convinced me that remote viewing is something real. So a few years ago, actually this channel is about 2 years old now, and about 2 years ago I sat down with Joe in his house in Virginia and had the pleasure of interviewing him. Throughout this 3-4 hour plus interview, Joe regaled me with so many fantastic tales of his time as a remote viewer.
And one of them, friends, that we're going to go through is Joe pretty much telling a similar story of a pilot, which is going to be exactly similar pretty much to what Rafael goes through.
Invited to his house down in the Florida Keys later, and my wife and I went down there. My wife at the time was my second wife. We drove down and met him, and he flew back and forth from Fort Lauderdale to Bimini.
So the story he shares here, okay, I'm just spinning it up just to keep it friendly for us. Yeah, he blacks out when he's flying. And then what happens is when he comes to, he checks out and he talks to control center. He's like, "Hey, I'm on my trip." And they go, "Bro, where the hell you been? How'd you get there?" They ask him. And that's his friend, the pilot. The pilot goes, "What do you mean, man? I've been flying." They go, No. You're meant to arrive at your destination 2 hours later than now. How did you're in this plane, you go this certain distance. How did you get there like 5 times faster? No one knows how. So obviously what's happening is he flew through a mist. That's why, similar story. They fly through some sort of mist in the sky and they end up obviously some sort of field, right? Captured by Mr. Alien dudes. And then they just pretty much, because they can bend space-time, right? So just for everyone at home, what's actually doing with the science, it's not actually anti-gravity, or this is the term we use, right? So what's actually happening is they're making some sort of field where, obviously, I don't know how exactly it works, friends. Get a lab coat and do whatever. But pretty much you're pulling the Earth. You're pulling the space-time in front of you. So you're constantly falling in. That's what it is, So it's literally, it's like getting a hand and you can grab space-time and just pull it closely. So you're not actually moving yourself. You're standing still. And the ship is like grabbing the grabbing the space in front of you, bringing it closer. That's actually how these things seem to be zipping super, super fast. Of course, the US government knows about that, but we're not allowed to know about that yet, are we? Now, friends, there is a similar story as well from Carlos. Carlos de los Santos had a very similar story. So he's flying here. And then these UFOs, 3 UFOs come, they get literally, they say 10 centimeters, just a few inches within the plane. Inches. They come in and they fly him up and they come, they suck him up. Okay, very family-friendly way type of sucking, by the way. It's a family-friendly show. They suck him up. He loses control. Well, he can't control the plane anymore. They're just like, they're moving him up somewhere. They take him up. It's kind of funny what ends up happening as well. This is him recalling the thing.
It's a very special experience for me.
Now, if that doesn't bring chills down your spine, I don't know what will.
So it's pretty kind of wild. Also, there is the traditional friends, men in black, that appear. I mean, it's kind of funny, man. These stories, all the same stuff keeps happening.
Carlos was later visited twice by the men in black. This happened twice in 1975. The first encounter was while Carlos was en route to an interview. So while driving to an interview with renowned Mexican journalist Pedro Ferriz, Carlos was intercepted. 2 identical black Grand Marquis sedans resembling diplomatic vehicles boxed in his car, one pulling alongside and the other cutting in front. The occupants? 4 men, emerging in unison and identical in appearance. They were described as followed: pale skin, blonde or light hair, Nordic, almost Scandinavian features, or as Carlos put it in his interview, they look like Vikings. Emotionless expressions, and their behavior felt robotic, stiff, and unnervingly synchronized. One man leaned into Carlos's window and said in Spanish, "If you appreciate your life, don't talk anymore."
So, very common with all these stories. Very common. So, just to let you know, friends, we've seen so many of these now, we can just pretty much guess. Those men in black, they are non-human intelligence themselves. They come here, they disguise as us, and they basically just tell you, hey man, don't go tell everyone else about it. Don't flip everybody out. That's their way of doing it. Now, if they come out and they try to have a beer with you, you probably won't take them seriously. But when they come out and be like, if you want to live, don't talk about us, the aliens. That's pretty much a common story when it comes to all of these. And this is another thing, right? Remember, we don't have to commit to all of these. You hear all these stories, friends. It's, maybe there's a bit of sprinkling of truth. Who knows, okay? But it's a common theme here. Once you see all of the pieces being put together, you realize the governments themselves, there's very high odds they are being controlled by non-human intelligence, So, friends, this is all these spacecraft, often spacecraft falls down and then the US government, some of the government leakers, they're like, hey, it felt like a donation from them. It felt like a donation from the Greys, one of the races. They're like, why they just drop this ship here? Now, this is the crazy part. the ships, when they drop and all these things that happen, it's never in civilian territory. It's always around the US Army stuff. So there's a statistical improbability, man. It's literally impossible. You're telling me super advanced 10,000 IQ Vitalik level intelligence aliens, they're like, oh no, my ship is falling. I'm going to land right in the US Army part. Why isn't